All right, everyone. I am probably live, but you never know with YouTube. That's just as crazy as the political situation, which is why we're having this live stream. Super chats are, by the way, open. I gotta pause this really quick, just a sec. Pause that. Live super chats are open. I will only be reading them sporadically. I accept them, but I figured at first I would talk about something hysterical, though. It's time to lighten the mood a little bit, actually. And I probably should actually have grabbed, if I remember correctly, the link. Okay, now I have it. I'm going to drop something in chat you can laugh about after I make sure that this is the right link. Just give me a second. Trust me, it's worth it. All right, I'm dropping something in chat for all of the 300-400 people that are currently watching. You should go to that if you want to see something funny. I'm going to analyze this fully because it's goddamn fucking pathetic. First and foremost, it took less than 5 days for the moronic leftists on Twitter to miss me. I'm sure Estevel is weeping into his bran muffin at the moment. The leftists want me back on. And so they're going to attempt to antagonize. You see, they don't want an echo chamber. What they really want, they want to be able to abuse people that aren't leftists with defamation, with stupidity, and face no repercussions. But they don't want you to leave. They want you to sit there and engage with them because they're fucking bored. That's the whole point. So here we've got something from Conservative Self-Owns. This is a small Twitter page. I guess it's supposed to be funny, although leftists don't tend to have much of a self of humor. Now, the first problem is the username. I'm not a conservative. I've never been a conservative. I don't self-label as a conservative. When people say that I'm on the ideological right, it makes me laugh. I was an Obama leftist not that many years ago. But the idea is that somehow I have contravened myself. There's an image, again, link that I put there. The first one is a shot of my video, Will There Be Justice for Ashley Babbitt? The second one is cops who shot Jacob Blake are not charged. Good. Here's how to really reform the police. Now, first and foremost, I can tell you that the person who made the image didn't actually see the second video. If they did, they would understand that I am gravely concerned about police brutality. It's just situational that I made the video. Number two, they're mixing apples and oranges here. In the case of Babbitt, you have an unarmed individual that was shot by a DC guard, despite the fact that there were multiple other officers right next to her that could have detained her. In the case of Jacob Blake, you have an individual who had a violent felony warrant. He was out for arrest at that time. He attacked civilians. Officers responded. He attacked officers. The officers attempted and failed to taser him. He went back to his vehicle to attempt to requisition a knife. Babbitt was unarmed. That's the difference. So there's a huge difference here. And these bootlickers, of course, they're going to, because these are socialists and the far left, they think that Babbitt is a traitor, a terrorist, and they think that Jacob Blake is the Messiah. And so that's really what it boils down to. So I figured that would be funny to start off with. That's just sort of the amusing bullshit that happens on the left, and they'll keep doing it. They're going to try to rope-a-dope people who aren't on the left back into Twitter because otherwise it's boring for them. And if you don't have anyone to complain about, then if you're a leftist, you don't have a reason to live. It's the only reason that you exist, to complain about people. And that's the only point. There are some groups on the right that seem to exist for the same reason, not going to lie. People sending various super chats. By the way, again, you can super chat. Other people, they will see it. It will be pinned at the top there on top chat. However, I am not going to be actively reading them out, mostly because I'm going to be ranting, actually. So how do you like the Ron Paul situation? I figured that would be another funny thing to talk about. Ron Paul is now too edgy for Facebook, officially. Ron Paul, the 80-some-odd-year-old libertarian who mainly fixates on trying to hawk gold. I have a feeling, and I could be wrong, but I have a feeling that it's similar to David Cullen, which is that I think that it's about COVID and vaccination. I don't think that it had anything to do with the political situation. As far as I know, Ron Paul has barely said a kind word about Trump with regards to anything other than the fact that he's like, well, his tax reform is at least better than what we had. He should abolish all taxes, but he reformed them a little bit. Anyway, yeah, Cameron saying that Ron Paul started the mess. Ron Paul didn't start a mess. Ron Paul is a good person. By the way, it was interesting watching him have an ischemic attack on live stream. It was what was more weird was the other person's reaction. Like Ron Paul, he had a mini stroke, so his mouth is drooping and he starts talking mush mouth, and then it goes dead, and the other is like, Dr. Paul. It's kind of weird. I saw my dad have a mini stroke once, and it was an interesting time because actually the reason for it was presumably lifelong smoking, and that's when he had his mini stroke. It gets to the point where it's almost a self-satire. You can't even put the cigarette in your mouth. It's probably causing a problem. Yeah. By the way, just to elucidate here, I wish that Ron Paul was the president. I wish he had won in 2012. I think it would have been good. Would have been better than Obama. Would have been better. You know, Mitt Romney didn't matter. Nobody was going to vote for him. Supposedly, by the way, I am a fascist, according to leftists, which is very, very interesting. It's interesting to get called a fascist by people with Che Guevara t-shirts because it's always, you chuckle about it. By the way, yes, my dad is actually okay. I should probably say this, though. Rest in peace to Merlin, which some of you people probably have seen the other day. And this is the peak clown world. And I told you that 2021 was going to be weirder than 2020. Actually, Merlin, the black cat in Rutland, died the other day. Apparently, he had a massive sneezing fit and just fucking dropped dead. So the idea is, I guess he sneezed so hard, he blew a heart valve or something, and that's not an exaggeration. He had something called feline herpes. It's not like genital herpes or something. It's some sort of herpes virus. It causes respiratory issues. But yeah, he had a heart attack or just dropped dead, sneezing. He literally sneezed himself to death. How much more 2020s can you fucking get? It's gotten to the realm where this timeline is beyond satire. Satire makes sense compared to the reality that we're currently seeing. We've got liberals and leftists congratulating billionaires explicitly interfering in the election process. Your cat sneezes himself to death. The common cold is the reason for, multiple countries entering depression-like conditions. Goodness. I can't wait. By the way, this is another thing that I've got to say. Sticks Hexen prediction times. All of those leftists that right now are really happy about people like me either leaving or being banned on Twitter, the foreshock from these weirdos there on the left, they're going to wish that we're back, and they're going to do everything that they can to get us back. It's going to be funny. It's just like watching the skeptics sell out and talk about how it's good that Trump got banned. Well, when the shoe is on the other foot and nobody's defending them, all of a sudden they're going to have a problem with the idea of tech censorship by billionaires. What's your best argument against people that call them terrorists? Well, do you feel terrorized? I don't. I don't feel terrorized at all by those people. It was a riot. It was definitely crime, but Ashley Babbitt wasn't engaged in a violent crime. She was attempting to step through a door at the time. That's not violence. What Jacob Blake did, which is try to grab a knife in order to stab several arresting officers, that's a violent crime. That's the difference. There's no equivalency. The honeymoon period will end. Antifa and BLM will turn against Joe Biden. Biden supporters will regret voting for him when the economy tanks. Never underestimate the ability of the MSM to pacify dumb liberals. A lot of Joe Biden's fans, they voted for Joe Biden. We're not talking about the best and brightest in the United States. A lot of these people, when the MSM tells them, well, it's just the Trump economy, Trump ruined everything, they'll believe it. For the first few years of Trump's presidency, they thought that all of the roaring economy that we had was the result of something Obama did, which is total fucking horseshit. So they'll deflect. Yeah, Trump will definitely be blamed for the upcoming Beijing-Biden Dem-pression. And people keep talking about secession. I would never support secession. I support taking back what's yours over ceding it to other people. I think that that's a pathetic way to go about your life. I think it's a dumb way too. That's it. That's how you end up. That's like saying, well, I've got 100 acres of land, but these people are squatting on it. Fuck it. Well, I'm gonna carve off 10 acres, and then I'm going to have 90 acres of land. Oh, the squatters moved into the other 90 acres. Who could have seen that coming? Okay, now I only have 80. Oh, now I have 70. Oh shit, they're occupying my home. I'm living in a tent on what used to be my own land. No, thank you. Sounds cucked. Yeah, and then there will be a handful of goofy people in there that will say that I fled to Amsterdam despite coming here about 3 months before there was any political struggle whatsoever. Or COVID. Nobody even knew COVID existed when I first came to the Netherlands. But people will lose it in the fog of war, of course. People lose sight of such things, because unless they watch your videos every single day, they wouldn't know that. Then it's your word against other people. So, Sticks, prove that you're not a shill. Say something. I'm not a shill. I never told other people to blow up a federal building. I never told you. Yeah, that's the other thing. We got to call these people out before January 20th. There are people right now. Hey, kid, look, I could sell you a crate of hand grenades for $50. Don't you want to? Doesn't it just chap your ass, my good American individual, that everything is going wrong? Why don't you throw one of these at some cops? And Jesus Christ, dude. It's very, very obvious, but only if you understand the concept that that sort of thing happens. The problem is that, like, the only people that understand that there's like Fed shilling literally on the internet are people that tend to be kind of out there. Beyond that, it's like, Jesus. People don't want to believe it. But there's crazy things happening at the moment. The whole world's gone mad. I mean, that much is clear. It's just a matter of whether it's like criminal lunacy or whether it's, you know, like harmful eccentric madness. Meanwhile, the left is completely sold out. It's funny because the right sounds like the left and the left sounds like fascists at the moment. They're congratulating billionaires for explicitly interfering in the political process. People on the right are like, oh, hang the billionaires. By the way, do not let your ire, this is advice to all of you out there that are watching, and this is something that needs to be said. Don't allow your very rightful ire at some billionaires who are interfering in our political system boil over into a socialistic belief that there shouldn't be anyone who's rich. Riches in and of themselves are not the problem. The use of those riches and that potential power that comes from it in a wrongful sense, enabled by big government, is the problem. Big government has enabled this situation. They have refused to enforce essentially the meaning behind 230. They have refused to safeguard the internet. They have refused to speak out, as long as they're not the ones being censored, by and large, including most mainline Republicans, against the concept that billionaires should be capable of censoring even the President of the United States, to the point where Angela Merkel herself, earlier, I spoke about it, is condemning it. Even Angela Merkel, and she's not a free speech advocate, she's just saying that the government should have things in place to be able to censor people who foment insurrection or whatever. Even she's uncomfortable with the concept of private companies doing this. Maybe that's because she's German. It does look a little bit like the Weimar era. Happened in the 30s. It's happening again. What is Rand Paul's presidential path to victory? Well, I mean, if the MSM happens to be successful in their current coup attempt, which is what we're seeing right now, then yeah, you probably won't see a Republican elected unless they spend 24/7 on their knee. So Rand Paul, I think, has more dignity than that. Yeah, and a lot of people saying they weren't notified. By the way, I encourage you all, and I'm not going to be a hypocrite here, and I will explain that. You should delete your Twitter account. Because Twitter is terrible. It's useless, number one. The only reason why I even have an account there is because I have a few people who send me news tips, and because otherwise someone will impersonate me. They'll pretend to be. Apparently, by the way, there's someone on Telegram pretending to be me under my username. I don't have a Telegram account at this moment. If I do, I will put it on a YouTube video. If I get an account on Telegram, I'll tell people. Yeah, Twitter has become goddamn useless. And they've kicked off a lot of interesting people. Linwood was in my opinion, a harmless lunatic. He's gone. Long ago, they kicked off All New and InfoWars and so forth. I think Garrison's gone. Ben Garrison, he's gone. You can't even make cartoons if they're too edgy. If your cartoons have political overtones, Twitter doesn't want you on there. It'll devolve into a purity spiral. What's going to happen is that all these leftists are going to try to get people like me back on because it's the only entertainment that they have. They're terrified, by the way, that the dominant platforms will no longer be run by people that are friendly to their cause. That's why they're doing that. It's part of a long-term strategy. Twitter, where you can't question whatever the CDC says, but you can upload hardcore dwarf porn or whatever. Very family friendly site. I'll jump in the canal and get flash boiled. Wonderful. Had me laughing all day yesterday. Please may I be foreman on your farm when Adolf Twitler and Mark Zuckerberg are picking turnips. Yeah, I want to hire Jack Dorsey to just lay under the bed when I'm asleep at night and randomly weep to himself and sing work songs. That's what I want. That's the future that I want, is Jack Dorsey mumbling slave songs from the 1800s to himself while he weeps. And he'll have his half bowl of gruel and so forth. He'll be like, all the slaves that his company helps to enable the existence of over in China. Sticks, I'm from Scranton, the Rutland of Vermont. I don't know whether you mean actual Rutland or actual Scranton. I think there is a similarity. Like Scranton used to be like an industrial, like a company town or something, right? And now it's sort of fallen on hard. It's sort of in decay. Rutland's not hugely in decay, I guess. It's just that there's a lot of sprawl. The downtown can be nice, but I mean, with the fucking lockdowns, who cares? I deleted Firefox. Yes, you should. Get rid of any Mozilla products that you use. Fuck Mozilla. They've completely sold out. 10 years ago, I would have said, well, they're one of the good guys. And they were. They stood against SOPA, PIPA, ACTA. They stood against all forms of censorship. Now they're sitting there literally celebrating the fact that people that they happen to not like for economic reasons because of their business partners are getting kicked off of the internet. We've got a situation where banks are saying that they're not going to do business with members of Congress for a perfectly legal objection. Keep this in mind, a perfectly legal, totally constitutional objection to the electors. That's a little bit weird now, isn't it? Yeah. Every billionaire in the world other than, I guess, Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, and Jack Ma, who's probably a corpse at this point. All of the billionaire classes and all of the starch shirt fucking pundits are telling me one thing. Don't you think that I'm going to believe the other because I know how reprehensible and stupid these people are? I do. Blazing Blue Bear. Hey, Sticks, I'm a police officer in the biggest city in my state. I listen to your videos after working the night shift, and they really help me unwind after a long shift. Thanks for all you do. Well, you're welcome. Yeah, I'm not a thin blue liner, but I guess you're one of the good ones. You probably don't crack pothead skulls for a living. Keep in mind, though, that at the same time, just by making such a comment, you end up on the radar of Antifa. Yeah, I mean, if you're on this channel, there's 4,000 people watching. Don't tell me that a couple of them aren't leftists. They keep an eye. Jared Holt is probably sitting here. He's probably in his underwear with his hands down his fucking pants. Fucking weirdo. Yeah, Starlink, I guess, is a thing now, and I've really never, I don't know what it's about, but I've heard of it. I think 2 or 3 other people have mentioned it in the last, 48 hours. Yeah. John Sun, you should be happy the real Satanists are winning. Well, no, Satanism is a liberation ideology based actually on the might is right sort of quasi-libertarianism of the Ayn Rand era. Has absolutely nothing to do with any authoritarian ideology. It also doesn't have to do with devil worship. And I haven't been involved with that since what? Yeah, fucking 2011 anyway. I realized it was bullshit. I figured there was more to life than a floor show. Floor show is fine. Yeah, you can have that while you're a pagan too. Bonfires are fun. What can I say? Do you think China will continue to buy up American debt or let us fall into oblivion? Honestly, I don't care. I don't care what China does. They're vestigial as well. And the one thing you got to understand, if the United States economy completely flatlines, China goes into a depression too. Their economy is half selling cheap shit to Americans. Oh, someone is claiming that Sheldon Adelson may have just died. That would be interesting. I'll look that up. I might be shenanigans. No, it's true. Sheldon Adelson, who bankrolled Trump and is one of the top current donors to the mainline GOP, I guess, just croaked at 87 or something. Yeah, by the way, that's also a coincidence that one of Trump's top backers just croaked. It's a honk. Joe Biden's dentures talking about Jack Dorsey spending thousands to dress like a crack addict. Yeah, it's funny because basically, if he wanted to achieve his current look, you give up razors, you get a shitty piercing from like a $10 fucking place in the strip mall. He's got a nose piercing now because he wants to be edgy because he's going through a midlife crisis, and then you just throw on like your girlfriend's oversized pullover, I guess, and that's basically his look. The dude's pathetic. It's like he's not 20 anymore. He's almost 40, I think. So yeah, Sheldon Adelson, I guess, just died at some point in the last few hours. And I'm not saying that I even like the dude because I think he was a Bush donor and all that shit too. So he's not really like, he's not a dedicated populist or anything like that, but you know. Soros, meanwhile, completely alive. They cut Sheldon Adelson off of the adrenochrome supply, I guess. That's the problem. They cut him off. You've been naughty. You supported populism for a moment, so, you know, bye. You don't get to be immortal like the rest of us, increasingly decrepit. Someone you may know, look it up. Employees are fleeing big tech as well. I haven't seen anything about employees like revolting against the big tech companies that are doing what they're doing right now. The problem is, like, imagine you can't blame them. Don't blame people for their economic situation so much. Imagine that you're living in San Francisco, you're making a high salary, but you're paying it all out for like a one-room flat. And you really are, technically, even if you're making 90, 100,000 a year, you're living paycheck to paycheck. That makes you more easily controlled. Even if you have principles, it can be difficult to wander off the reservation. If you're thinking about tech skills, where else are you going to go other than Silicon Valley, that you're not just going to be a glorified maintenance person fixing the computers in someone's middle-end office in a strip mall somewhere? If you want the big income, if you want to potentially have the big break, you're in Silicon Valley. Or you're in Beijing, ironically at all. Yeah. By the way, update on the Proton Mail. Here's what I would say. I am changing out Gmail for Proton Mail. At the moment, though, I'm having problems with it because, unfortunately, it's a weird situation. My initial Gmail was hooked to another account that I registered a long time ago, but I don't know anything about it. Never got completed, so I couldn't use that as a recovery email. The problem is that without a recovery email, if you lose your password or something, you can't log into the Proton Mail. So I paid for that. I've got an account. The additional problem is that the login credentials aren't working. And I know that I'm using the right login because I literally copied it to a notepad file. I've emailed them. I've got no response in the last 2 days. I don't know what the fuck is going on, so I may use a different email service and cut them out too. I think, yeah, and by the way, all tech is all sorts of fucked up right now. Like, the only one that's still stable at the moment is BitChute. I feel good at it, definitely at the fact. But, oh, by the way, there's a huge announcement. The 10,000 subscriber awards have been changed. They're no longer the plaques like I've got in Rutland. Now they've got a little bronze medallion and a case that you can get if you hit 10,000 subscribers on BitChute. So definitely you should check that out. By the way, links in the description of this live stream where you can follow me on those sites. BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, I support them all. Brighteon, Dailymotion, Minds.com. Basically, if it ain't fully mainline tech, it's a good thing at this point. I think I'm in the top 100, by the way, in the whole United States now on Dailymotion. Now, it's not necessarily the same as being PewDiePie, but it's, I'd say, an accomplishment. What is your take on Tim Pool lately? I know he's a hard worker, but many people calling him a grifter recently. I only ask because I respect your opinion on people and things. I don't have a problem with Tim Pool. I don't always agree with him. I think his summation, I think on Twitter, a couple of days ago on Twitter, he complained that, or didn't complain, but remarked, he thought that basically Trump had lost all support other than like the core MAGA people. That's not what I've seen. Even Lindsey Graham, who is basically an anti-Trumper. Initially, he predicted that Trump would destroy the GOP. He was a big-time McCain friend and donor, joined at the hip and probably a little bit more, if you know anything about Lindsey Graham. Even he's calling out Twitter, defending Trump. They've closed ranks. The Republicans, ironically enough, have closed ranks most of the way, other than Twit Romney and a few others. They don't have the. I don't think they have the votes to remove him from office. Imagine he becomes the first president to be impeached twice, but doesn't get removed. Comes back in 2024, says, "You scumbag, fuck you." I don't see any Democrats that are ready to run. Who? Joe Biden, 82 years old. Kamala Harris, never even elected. Came in like, what, 5th, 6th place in the primaries. Elizabeth Warren should be 76, 78, something like that. Hillary's gone. She's not going to run. Again, I keep telling people Kirsten Gillibrand is the biggest weapon the Democrats potentially have, and they just refuse to take her seriously because she doesn't want to grift as much. That's the real problem. They don't. I mean, the new Democrats, the old Democrats were really great at strategy, really evil, cutthroats, but they understood it. They're decreasingly understanding that. On the Republican side, because of the MAGA thing, you have more Republicans, I think, over time that kind of understand strategy to some extent. They can still be dumb. Lindsey Graham, I'm not calling him smart, just so that people understand. Cry some more, Sticks, says Plautus. How can the person who's #1 on alt tech cry? I feel just fine. I'm not going to be silenced. No, what'll happen is leftists and liberals will be silent. What'll happen is that Twitter will devolve into an echo chamber. So, I mean, the left will eventually abandon those platforms too, among others. And they'll be sad. They'll be upset at some point. Yeah, I'm sad. I've only got like almost 5,000 people watching live. I found out how to get through YouTube's shitty algorithms. Apparently, all you have to do is become a streamer instead of doing standalone videos. Harold Lawson, Ossoff will be pushed. Mark my words. Oh, wait. It went away. Oh, just a sec. Chat's too quick. Yeah, I apologize for the slow mode. I have no choice. What do you make of the FVD implosion and what this means for the PVV and Wilders? I don't know anything about that. See, I'm not natively Dutch, so I keep up with Dutch politics some, but I don't know anything about an implosion for Geert Wilders. I like the dude. He's got like Trump-style hair. He and Boris Johnson. Trump turned out to have veracity. Boris Johnson turned out to be a smarmy fart holder. So, yeah. There's good and bad in every hairstyle, except for mohawks. At this point, anyone with one of those tends to be a commie. You know that dude, Jason Unruhi or something, what it is? Why is it that all leftist males, like the further left, why is it that they're all obese? I don't understand it. I thought capitalism was terrible for you, but they seem to be enjoying the fruits of it to an excessive degree. And Enzo asking if I think all platforms eventually die. By and large, yes. You look at some of the big corporate firms of yesteryear. Look at Sears. Sears was one of the big ones. Look at the Sears Tower, which has been renamed because they had to sell it. The cat, by the way, is whining in the bathroom. She gets confused and thinks that me and Liz aren't around. And then she cries in loneliness. And then you have to call her in and she sort of understands at some point. She's got some mental issues, I think. Kitty, you can come over here and show people how cute you are. But think about Sears. Sears was dominant. They had the Sears catalog, Sears Tower. They were everywhere. Sears Roebuck, one of the biggest firms in the country many decades ago. They're gone. They don't exist anymore. They'd gobbled up Kmart, I think. They're gone. Ames was a big regional chain. They're gone. But Walmart is still there. It's difficult to tell who's going to actually remain around. I can't tell you which of the big tech firms in 10 years will still be here. I'll give you some guesses. Twitter's gone. I don't think Twitter survives. Jack Dorsey has not diversified his holdings enough. He jumped the gun, and he's the small fish in the big pond at the moment because all of the others are simply bigger. Facebook and Insta, it's difficult to tell because with the antitrust suits that are breathing down Zuckerberg's neck, it's difficult to tell because he might be forced to divest. He might have to get rid of Insta or separate it in some way. It's not sure which ones survive. And also with him, you got to understand he can jettison Facebook. The whole point of Facebook was essentially to rob people of their personal info and sell it to China. But the thing is that same info is just as valid now as it was then because he sells it in batches. What Facebook does is it bundles that info and says, hey, I can get you these million profiles for branding and ad purposes. All you have to do is sign a contract saying you won't give it to anyone else. So he can sell the same info 10, 20 times. Very lucrative. Insta, presumably the same thing. I think you're crazy if you're using anything owned by Zuckerberg. My Facebook account, I haven't even logged into in many months. And I don't think I'd ever use Instagram. Mainly because I don't need to, if I want to post pictures of my food or something like that, I'm not going to post pictures myself because nobody's going to want to see them. If I want to post food, I'll put it on mine. I would have said Twitter. Yes, yeah, here's the crazy kitty. You can come up if you want. Why don't you show off to everyone how adorable you are? Just a sec, I'll try to get the kitty. Come here. Oh, yes, we go. Here's a kitty. Look at what I picked up. A big teddy bear. People donate more when they see cute animals. So, you got to pull your weight. It's a lot of weight at this point. She's got to earn her snacks in the morning. Very important. Push this back. She likes it if I push this back, and sometimes she'll lay down. You can lay down if you want. I don't know. People can probably hear what you're doing to the microphone, and you might disconnect it. So, a little bit cautious. Now, this is not a boy, by the way. This is Yana, and she is a very large female cat. Anyway, too many treats. I got a little bit distracted from the political situation. She's like petting herself. Okay, come on. You're making weird noises and stuff. By the way, sometimes you can get her to defeat gravity. You want to be a sideways cat? Yeah, you want to be sideways. Look at that. She loves. Oh goodness! Destroy the stream. She likes to sit sideways when Liz picks her up, and it's hilarious. She's so goofy. She does not understand that gravity is a thing. You might even be able to hear her purring. Completely distracted. But anyway, for those of you who are just joining, really quickly, I should probably mention there are links in the description of this video to where you can follow me on other platforms. That's number one. Yeah, I know, but I should just do a purring cat stream. People don't want to hear me. They just want to hear you at this point. You're much cuter than I am. She's more talented. Yes, Styx is doing cat videos. Yeah, what the hell else am I going to do? YouTube demotes everything else. She's not quite as big as she appears, by the way, because I'm further from the camera. Keeping that in mind, she's a large cat, but she's not like a Maine Coon. Yeah. What was I even talking about? I don't know. This is my life. I'm a mobile petting and food dispersion platform. The purge has begun. I like it. The Styx ASMR channel. Yeah, sadly, one of my cats died the other day, back in Rutland, Merlin. Some of you have probably seen him. He was the black one with the little white triangle. It looked like a priest collar. I called him Priesty Beastie sometimes as a joke. He died the other day. He sneezed himself to death. This is not a joke. He had some sort of condition where he would sneeze constantly. And what would happen is he'd have these fits once in a while. He took some sort of vitamin supplement my mom gave him for it. And it worked kind of, but he had a really bad sneezing spell. And my assumption is his heart ruptured. His heart just stopped. Yeah. 2021. Did I not tell you, did I not predict that 2021 would be worse and crazier than 2020, by the way? Well, we're only halfway through January, and I think that my prediction has proved correct. So, I mean, I didn't get the prediction about Trump being banned. Ramsey gets that one, but I think that I get the general 2021 being insane prediction. Yeah. Someone saying, oh, I sneeze a lot. Yeah, I don't think just because you sneeze that you rupture your heart. Anyway, I got to use the bathroom really quickly, so I'm going to really, just a second here. If I can figure out how to do this. Half of you will leave the stream. Yeah, I'll be back in a second. Just a sec. I've got to use the potty, the little boy's room. All right, everyone, I have actually returned. Actually, I should probably put that to the side. I got to be able to pay attention to chat as well.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. Liz is calling some plumber person. We've got a problem in our apartment at the moment where the heating system doesn't appear to work. So we're trying to figure that out. By the way, I did not actually take a Coke break, unlike some streamers. I'm still be kiddied here. And yes, of course, I washed my hands. It's funny, a lot of people don't. They don't even rinse their hands. And the funny thing is, it's like I didn't need to be told that COVID was a problem to begin doing that. I never understood it. When you go to the bathroom, like go to a buffet or something, you go into the bathroom, you're doing your business. You'd be surprised. So many people that go in there, they force shit and they get up and they don't even wash their hands. They go right out to the buffet and stuff. And it's like, no wonder we've got problems with disease. You should never go to a buffet, by the way. I'll look up, what the fuck was it? There was one in Littleton, New Hampshire. I'm going to try to find it. Let me find this. For people that want to see the most epic, goddamn gross video of a restaurant ever. Oh my God. What the hell is it called? I can't remember the name of the buffet. Asian Garden. Yeah, just a second. This is by Will Panzino. I guess he was a food inspector or a cleaner or something. Let me link this in chat. You're going to love this. Oh my God. Prepare to watch this over and goddamn over. Yes. Watch it. I linked it in chat. I wish I could pin it. Why doesn't YouTube have the ability to pin things in chat, actually? Could you elaborate, please, on why banning Trump is meh? If Twitter is a private company and could ban everyone, what gives? Well, Twitter banning anyone for legal behavior, because Trump didn't cite anyone, I disagree with. But even more, when the president's Twitter was explicitly ruled a public platform by a federal judge, Twitter broke the law. They explicitly broke the law. I worked in restaurants. Never be rude to people who get to your food before you do. Very good advice. My dad was a head chef for about 30 years. He worked in the restaurant industry. And he would never do anything to anyone's food, just so you know. But he knew of people that did. And trust me, if you ever ate any food that I made, I'm anally retentive about cleanliness. Like if I see a goddamn hair in the food, I'll fucking chuck it in the trash. I can't stand it. I'm a germaphobe when it comes to my food, especially with anything with regards to hair. If I drop it on the counter even briefly, it don't go in the pan. I don't care how much I'm searing it. It's gone. And I don't understand people that aren't like that. It's just I want to pull a Vouch and puke burp when I think of it. Do you think Candace Owens not being banned is a sign she's a liberal plant? Well, I haven't been banned. I'm not a liberal plant. By the way, let me address briefly the Parler hack issue. It seems that the initial hype over it is actually a little bit overblown, and that nothing beyond surface level was even hacked. So the idea that driver's licenses and shit were obtained by some hacker appears to be confirmed to be false. I have a feeling that is part of the attack on Parler. It's basically they get deplatformed and then people spread misinfo about it. That's what seems to be the case. And as for Rumble, I do use Rumble. I do have an account there. There is another Styx Hexenhammer on the site. It's not me. The one with the most subscribers that I link to in every video. There's a link in the description of this video. My Rumble account is on there. To be clear as well, again, for people that didn't hear it, I am not currently on Telegram. The people, apparently, somebody claimed the other day they had a conversation with someone claiming to be me with Styx Hexenhammer as the username. I am not on Telegram. If it's me, force them to prove it. I can prove it on this account. You can see me live right now. If it's on something that I don't have linked out on YouTube or some other established site, then it's probably not me. There was a pedo message to kids from Project Lincoln. Oh, what are they doing now? Oh yeah. What was it? RT, I think, had a story. One of their members is accused of trafficking, I think. That could be bullshit. You got to understand that RT, just because Western media a la MSN News or Yahoo or CNN is fake doesn't mean RT is real, or Sputnik or something. You got to understand that there's propaganda on all sides. Most of it is authoritarian in nature by default because it's run by people who benefit from authoritarianism. They're at the top. The people that run the MSM, it's not some collective of little people. It's a bunch of billionaires. That's what people need to understand. What a surprise. Styx is neurotic about hand washing and with food. No, here's the thing. I'm not neurotic about like petting the cat or something. But if I'm cooking food, yeah, I'm a little bit neurotic. When I was a kid, if I made a sandwich or something, I would take the bread and I would hold it up to a light, sort of like a plane, and I would look across it to make sure there was no like hair on it or anything. I sort of got out of that. I'm not quite as obsessed now, but and Kitty's gone. Hi, Kitty. But at the same time, I'm very cleanly when it comes to food. I won't use a pot if it's not completely spotless. I disinfect regularly. I like to clean things. Cleaning, to me, cleaning is fun. And I was the weird kid that liked his Brussels sprouts, so that's a fucking sue me. I'm paying attention to chat casually today. You got to understand there's a lot going on in the world. What I foment, what I believe is that on January 20th, there's going to be some crazy shit going down. My hope is that it's, not complete anarchy. It's pretty bad because I guess the best case likely scenario is that Beijing Biden gives a digital address from his fucking bunker and then disappears for several years. Think about that. Our president being a complete and do-nothing absentee over the next couple of years is arguably the best case scenario. Do you like Suriname food? Oh, yeah. Absolutely. They have all sorts of stuff like that. There's a lot of Suriname influence here because it's a colony of the Netherlands. Much spicier. You have all sorts of great foods, actually. Someone might be at the door. My hope is that they're not. Yeah, I should probably take this. I'll be right back really quickly, everyone. Let me just check this, see who's at the door. All right, everyone. I apologize for that, but it's a good thing that I took it, actually, because I'm pretty sure that this is the gas mask that I ordered. So this is an unboxing time. Had to charge up the stairs, so a little out of breath. If it's not, if it's the big dildo that I ordered, then I won't show that one. That's a joke to Jared Holt. Just so not a homophobic one. You do what makes you feel human. Do what makes you feel alive. I should probably have the chat open as well, but for some reason. Oh, okay. Oh, it is. This is my ultimate trolling mechanism. Yes. Yeah. It's just like the one that I have in Rutland, except it took about a month to actually get here. Yeah. By the way, these were one of the first gas masks, I think, that have these little breathing systems inside. I don't know if you can really see that. And what it does is it draws in the air across the glass. You don't need a defogger with it. So yeah. Yeah. It's Fallout time, dude. I don't know. I think I'd have to put my hair back to put this on properly, but it's kind of hard to wear with glasses. This is basically just so I can troll at the grocery store, which I'm going to be doing tomorrow. I also, a subscriber linked me to where I could find a filter for this. I mean, this is, at the moment, it doesn't have a filter attached. It won't do much of anything. It's about as effective as the cloth masks, which is to say, well, I don't know I can say on YouTube how effective that is. I had to get it from a fetish store because they're all sold out on like Amazon and eBay. Literally, a store with like bondage leather gear and whips and shit is the only place to get a gas mask filter at the moment. I guess that perverts will inherit the earth. I'll leave that to the side. No. I don't even exactly know what size it is that I bought. I think it's basically one size fits most. It's about the same size. I'm not going to bother putting it on. It's too hard because the problem is the leather that creates such a seal. It becomes difficult and will look retarded. But anyway, this is a Draeger gas mask. It's still functional. It's in good condition, actually. It's in better condition than I expected. Some of them, I think, have square lenses as well. But the rebreathing system, this will be better than a cloth mask because if it draws the air across that, I don't have to worry about my glasses fogging up when I go to the grocery store to get a chocolate bar and I have to dress like, it's Fallout. So, yeah. It's going to be a fun time. I'll try it on later and make sure. Imagine it doesn't fit. And it's like, oh, shit, it's one size too small. It's one size too big. It doesn't work for me. And then you're like, well, it's from Lithuania. Not even that far away. It's like basically like the distance from Texas to New England. That would usually take 3 days. This took 5 weeks or something. You need to run a Geiger counter over that before you put it on your face. I don't care if there's radiation on it. There's radiation in the air around you because they tested so many nukes for so many years. Yeah. Mask of death. No, it's not a mask of death. This mask, in all likelihood, was presumably never used in an irradiated area. The German military, they really march into a lot of war zones lately. This is probably in somebody's garage for the last 20 years. I really don't care if it's irradiated. I honestly, it doesn't make any difference. I know some of the older filters, if you get like an old gas mask and it comes with a filter, you shouldn't use those though, because some of the models can actually, there's some sort of isotope that can be spawned by the filtration system, and it can become highly radioactive. And I believe it's an alpha emitter, so you don't want to be fucking around with that. As far as this, though, I'll just wash it in the shower. I'll do it the coronavirus way. A piece of cloth will stop that, so I'll just give the heavily irradiated Soviet gas mask a shower. Well, not Soviet, but, maybe East German. I think this was past East Germany. I think they had collapsed already. What is your purpose on YouTube? Are you afraid of being labeled? YouTube's fun. I've been on it for 12 years. That reminds me of Kung Pao Enter the Fist. What is your purpose? If you've never seen that. Trust me, watch Kung Pao enter the fist once in your life. And also watch that video of the restaurant that I showed you earlier. You won't regret it till you go to a buffet. Hopefully it'll help you lose weight when you realize how disgusting it really can be. Cheese says, Sticks, why are Vermont Republicans so liberal? It's not, they're not liberal, they're just sellouts. They are losers. They're pathetic. Much like Republicans tend to be anywhere in the country. By and large, it's funny because Vermont's like a different country because you had leftists that didn't really push gun control and Republicans that were never fiscally conservative. Vermont's a little bit different from the average state. Oh my God, Sticks knows the Kung Pao. Yeah. Did they ever end up making that sequel? I know that Oda, he had spoken about it for a while. And I assumed at first that it was a joke. Like, oh, there's going to be a sequel. And then they just, take scenes and put it on the end of the video for lack of something better to do. But I don't know. It'd be funny if they make a sequel and it sucks. That's the way most sequels, most of the time, a movie that's really viral, like that one, a really great comedy for its era. Most of the time, a sequel, if it's made too long after, will inevitably suck. I got to say that. Remakes and rehashes and reboots should never be made. The exception is if Raimi's involved, apparently, because Evil Dead, as far as a rebooted series, that's solid fucking gold. Other than that, though, nobody else should do it. He's the only human who should be able to reboot a series. He should be in charge of all of Hollywood. Then they'd be worth listening to again. Phone brand you recommend? I recommend having no phone. If possible, if you don't need one, fuck phones. If you need one, get a flip phone. If you have no choice but to get a smartphone, just get whatever's cheapest because it's spying on you anyway. By the way, to Design Girl 33, I don't know what TGP actually is. And Danny Paul is proposing marriage, but I am already taken. I also don't, I don't swing in both directions as well. David Bowie is dead. I'm not interested in necrophilia. When I make jokes like that, it's funny because people on the right more often will take it seriously with no sense of humor. And like years and years ago, I was trolling Christians and I claimed to be bisexual. And the idea was like that would make it 10 times more terrible for them because not only at the time was I involved with Satanism, but I'm saying, I don't know, I suck dicks or something. And it would get them riled up. But somebody screen capped it. And now many, many years later, people still think that it wasn't a joke. Yeah, I mean, it's terrible. You can't even troll without taking things seriously. What is the world coming to? Will anything come of Pelosi's attempted coup? I don't know. And honestly, for the first time, I have no fucking clue what's going to happen on the 20th. I have no clue. Nobody cared who he was till he put on the mask. I actually saw someone once who had that particular mask. I mean, it was a prop, obviously, but had one on at one point in Amsterdam, and I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, if you're going to have no choice but to wear the cock device, the lemming collar, then it might as well look good. I should totally sell out and do Styx Hexenhammer masks with the Ouroboros on them. I think I'd be more likely to say to someone that says this piece of cloth is bullshit or something. The smartphone market. Yeah, why do you need a smartphone unless you're a creator or something and it doesn't do anything a flip phone can't do? A lot of people, they won't even use like basic phone functions though anymore. They expect to use like Facebook Messenger. I can understand like as far as like an MP3 player style replacement, it's good. You get your wireless earbuds in and so forth. It's more convenient. But the cost, not just in terms of money, but in terms of invasion of privacy, I would think outweighs that. There won't be any 2000 stimulus checks as promised. I could see that coming. Yeah, my stimulus check is in Rutland, I guess. $600. I guess I can buy more gas masks. Or I can buy spoons. I can buy a bunch of coffee. I should probably buy a bunch of coffee because, the price of everything is going to skyrocket under Beijing Biden. Sell a mask that covers everything but the mouth. Yeah, but the thing is that the people that are really, really into masks, you want to cover their mouth. I want to design a mask that silences them. It's like a gag. That's what I want. Yeah, get a mask with a picture of a gag ball in the mouth. No one wants to see that. I'm sure somebody sells that. Somebody's got to have thought of that before we did. Anyway, to those who are not aware, again, there are links in the description of this video. Oh, it's live stream, where you can join me on other sites as well. I make BitChute exclusive, so that would be the big one at the moment. Vahi, I'm in communication with them. There are big things coming there, as well as on Odyssey and Rumble. Even on Dailymotion, they'll probably, at some point, it's incentivized that they develop things better. It's just the way that it is. Lol, that sounds like a gimp suit. Yeah, that's sort of the point. Oh, Newsom is facing a recall? They won't recall him. Ulysses S. Grant, thoughts? Grant was a goofy man. Sherman was doing a good job anyway. Grant actually, I don't know if this is canonical and true, but I heard that one time he ordered an entire trainload of onions because he thought they were medicinal. Like people back in the 1800s, they'd go through fads and crazes where they thought like one plant or type of meat or whatever was really good for you, like a superfood. They said we still do this now. And he thought, I guess, onions were specifically what was needed. And so he shipped in a trainload of onions for his troops. There are worse things you could do. When you're surviving on hardtack and gruel, I'm assuming onions would probably inject a little bit of flavor. Probably his dudes fucking grabbed him by the armload and just started eating them raw just because they hadn't had anything that had any flavor. And by the way, Steve MRE info, and you should definitely, if you like anything with regards to MREs, you got to follow him. He's the big kahuna. He once ate Civil War hardtack, legit from the 1800s, like from 1863 or some shit. It took him, I think, 10 minutes to dissolve some of it in water. And the rest of it was basically, he said it tasted, I think, slightly of mothballs because, it was 150 years old. Yeah, Steve, 1989, MRE info. Really great dude. Yeah, nice hiss is his meme. We've got the clank, he's got the hiss. Our different food choices. I like MREs. I don't think that I'd want to eat something that's 150 years old, dude. Not unless it was still alive. Like, that really elderly tortoise there. Like if I whacked it on the head and made turtle soup out of it, like, at least it was still alive shortly before you roasted its flesh. Polk is one of the top presidents. Do you agree? No. No, I'd say here's a list of top presidents. Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, Monroe, specifically because of the Monroe Doctrine, because of its formative principles. Washington, sort of a no-brainer. I would put Eisenhower on the list. He warned of the military-industrial complex. JFK, I believe that he was at least motivated by a desire to do good. Trump would fall outside of the top 10. There are some people that think he's the greatest. He's a good president, but he's more close. He's in the next 10, like down to the Reagan and stuff. Yeah, I'd say that would be a list. Everyone asking me about Grant. Grant would be in the bottom half, but not in the bottom quarter somewhere. Yeah. Somebody's saying, oh, yeah, where can you buy the I Won't Back Down character behind you? In the future, when I've got more time in the States, I'll be able to coordinate this. This was 3D printed by the G-Sticks dude. You can't get him right now. He sort of does them custom. There is a plan to do, or there was months ago, a plan to do a signed variant for people. But I mean, I'm in Amsterdam, so I can't coordinate that right now. If he were to take a package of them and ship them to me, it'd cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And then I have to ship it back, and it would take, with Corona, it'd probably take 6 months anyway. So we're going to be working on that in the future, but we're not exactly sure the time frame, therefore. By the way, everyone, delete your Twitter account unless you are a public figure that has to keep it as a placeholder or for some work-related purpose. I officially unendorse the existence of Twitter. My account there is dormant. I will not be using it. Oh, yeah, Andrew Jackson. Yeah, he'd be in the top 10. I realize genocide isn't a good thing, but I mean, anyone who gives away a 100-pound cheese wheel and feeds all the poor of DC, that's more generosity than DC has shown poor people since then. Normally, they take the cheese from people. You get 100 pounds of cheese in the lottery, and they come and they carve half of it off as taxes. They don't even eat it, though. They send it off to some third world country and feed other people. Isn't it just odd times in general, though? And even these weird conversations we're having, they're totally meandering. There is no meaning. It's like Sound and the Fury, only more interesting. By the way, I hated that book. Had to read it when I was in college. Jesus Christ. Talk about the most fucking boring. It's a bitch fest by Faulkner. Basically, he was challenged by Hemingway and decided that, well, because I'm arguably a bit more well-known, I'm going to make a book that has no meaning and is completely boring, and it'll still sell copies. And that seems to be basically the reasoning behind it. Styx, got any big books coming out? I've released quite a few over the last few months. Right now, though, I'm so focused on live streaming due to the politics of the world that it's difficult for me to actually do any editing at the moment. I am releasing an occult reference at some point. I am working on it. I'm about a third of the way through it, I think. It's going to take a lot longer than expected, though, because through January 20th, at the very least, things in the United States are totally fucked up. And it could last longer than that. I have no clue. Pompeo is blowing hard on Iran live right now. Yeah, the other night he was in the Voice of America get-together. I watched part of that live. He was on Voice of America there saying they lost their way, which is true. They've stopped being pro-America, now they're pro-China. Yeah, kitty, you still crazy now? Yeah, you always are. Yeah, and before I go off here, I'll be off in a minute or so. I gotta cook and check out the gas mask for sizing and stuff. It is true, yes. An Idaho ISP apparently canceled Facebook and Twitter. You have to opt in order to access them under that ISP now. So they're not banned or anything. You have to call them up to unblock them. I support that kind of activism. I think it's a good idea. I strongly oppose censorship, but they're not blocking it. They're just telling you have to opt in. That's totally different from what Twitter did. They say that you're not allowed to actually interact with certain material. That's censorship. Saying that you have to opt in because you find it offensive, that's kind of European style. Now, this is, I thought, what the liberals wanted. You're always telling us we need to be more like Sweden. We need to be more like Belgium. We need to be more like France. Well, it's the same fucking shit now, isn't it? Now that the shoe's on the other foot, of course, these people are complaining. But Twitter's lost probably 5% of its user base over the last 3 days anyway. Jack Dorsey is a reprehensible moron. He doesn't know how to manage a company. He's managing it into the ground with his stupid wokeness. And that's just the way that it is. And now he has to face up to it. Yeah, when he does his next meeting with the stockholders, with the shareholders, he's going to be red-faced. It's going to be pretty funny. Facebook admits it shares user data with China. Yeah, they admitted that years ago, but people ignored it. But their data was already there, so as long as it's not against the law, which Congress takes money from Facebook, so they're not going to do anything about it. There's nothing you can do except to not use Facebook. I suggest you delete your Facebook too. Again, my Facebook is a placeholder so no one can impersonate me. The same is true of Twitter, that and the fact that I have no choice but to receive news tips, because there are some people on Twitter that are really good at feeding me news tips, and for their benefit, I don't want to message them and say, well, fuck you, you have to make a Proton mail now. Grant Levy continues to obsess over Ulysses S. Grant. Grant was a better general than he was as a president. But by that point, I think the war was grinding down because the Confederates had, they didn't have as much manpower or output or anything like that. I just want to see Trump get a BitChute account and how funny that would be. All right, everyone, he says to America, I had to get a British website to host me because the United States websites all tell you that you're not allowed to speak freely. Imagine how weird that would be. Be like a reverse 1776 at that point. But yeah, I'm going to go offline here because it's going to be time to eat not too long from now and other things as well. I got to pet the kitty. Got to hope that the heating system actually gets fixed. So yeah, that's about all. Peace out.